G'day and welcome again to another Campfire panel discussion. And today, first of all, I have with me Heather Joy Bassett, personal business coach and speaker, author and mentor. How are you, Heather?
Yeah, great. Great to be here. Thanks, Alan.
Thank you. And we also have Sean McBride, adventurer, wellness instructor, author and coach. How are you, Sean?
Great, Alan. Thank you for having me.
Good to have you here as well. Now, we did have a third person organised today, but we're going through all these trials and tribulations with the isolation, with the viruses and everything else. And technology is also playing up because of the load that's going on to it. So today, it'll just be the three of us.
So, Alan, can you, for someone, if they popped in and don't actually know you, can you tell us who you are as well?
I think by now everyone probably knows who I am.
Well, but someone may just pop in and listen to a podcast who doesn't know who you are. So
okay, well, I'm Alan Stevens. I'm a international profiling and communication specialist and host of the Campfire Project. And thank you, Heather, because I've really loved the fact that the acknowledgement I've got, and it's because of what you've been putting into the Campfire Project and what you and the others are getting out of it. So, yeah, thank you very much for that acknowledgement again.
Yeah.
So, and I think a lot of people out there probably looking for some acknowledgement as well, wanting to be understood. We're going through a very uncertain time and with a lot of fear. And so I think that's where a lot of the conversations we'll be having from now on, how to handle all of that. With the work that both of you do, and I'll start with you, Heather, if I may. Yeah. With the work that you've been doing, what have you been noticing with people around their response to what's happening today?
Whew, it's such a big one. I see there's sort of two camps. There are people who are really, oops, hang on, my thing's going to pop up. There are like, no fear, don't have any fear, move forward. And then there are people who are really, really stuck in the fear. And then there's those who are, fear is our intuition. Fear is our safety. Fear is our guidance. So I don't see fear as being a bad thing. Obviously, if we get into our reptilian brain and we're stuck in fight and flight, then that makes it very difficult to come up with anything creative, to move forward in any way, to have conversations that are going to help in a way from that space. So for a lot of people, it depends where they're at on the journey of evolution. So I remember one of my clients, she would get incredibly depressed, quite manic. And I could remember she would just stand before me and I would say, it's okay. It's going to get better. It's okay. And like, she would just look at me with these pleading eyes like, is it? And she couldn't see that. She couldn't see when she was in the depth of that darkness and the fear and the uncertainty that there was a future, that there was light. So again, it really does depend where some people just really do need that reassurance. Like, we're going to come out the other side of this. Whereas other people are just, diving ahead. If we don't acknowledge what's going on inside us and we just keep covering it up and pretending it's not there, then we all know that's a recipe for disaster as well.
Excellent. And how about you, Sean?
Well, you know how I run that Facebook page, the Mammoth Hunters Club, Alan. There's not much comment on there about fear, but then, that's probably a guy thing as well. Guys don't tend to talk about how they're feeling. There's a little bit of an undercurrent of insecurity about the job situation, mainly for men, and of course that would apply to women as well. But I think what the key here is that years ago I heard this radio program and I thought it was spot on. The guy said, people don't want love and wealth and this and that, and a whole range of things that we think are important. He said, what people want is control over those things. We like to feel like we're in control. And I remember the CEO of this company, Tony Shea, I think his name was, he said, he gave these 4 things for happiness. And the first one was perceived control. And I think that is what's really at the underneath all this, is that people feel that they're not in control of their lives because things are happening to them, or they feel like they're happening to them, and they're things that are outside their control, like, you know, the government putting on all these bans of travel, etc., or the fact that the virus is even in this country. You know, they're things out of people's control. And I think the key to this whole issue is for people to take control of some aspects of their lives to make them feel more secure.
And I think, you know, I've looked at my own situation. I go, yeah, I've had fear about where this is going. But it's then, as Heather, you said, it's not letting the fear control you. It's not a matter of getting rid of your fear. It's recognising it, understanding it, and then making sure that you have the control over it. Because as you said, Sean, control is, or the perceived control in all areas of our life is something that we all want. When we don't have that, we're lost.
Mm.
So it's...
Yeah. I'd like to go back a little bit, because I think when you made a comment about men not doing feelings, I want to discuss that a little, because that's sort of, I know that's true for some men, and I know more and more men, most of the men that I hang around are exploring that and are expressing that. And so I just want to call out that the norm of not being in touch with our feelings and things can shift. So I want to just bring into this discussion that a lot of feelings in the past have been made wrong. It's been made wrong to be angry, to be sad, to have fear, and to have joy. And even one of my someone that I mentored, he did a TED talk on fear. So yeah, just inviting in that, saying men don't do feelings and things is, you know, that's very much an old school, and inviting the new way of being. And you may be in a group where that's not happening. There are also a lot of groups where it is happening. So I'm inviting any guys listening to this to, okay, you're feeling it. The only difference is to talk about it. And that's one of the things, creating a really safe space where we're gathering men together and going, hey, I feel. And then a whole bunch, if you're around a whole bunch of people, then you sit there and everyone's like, yeah. It's like, yeah, me too. Me too. We together.
Sure, that's a valid point, Heather. The only difference is that the group that I set up is, you know, that is open to men to talk about, and some men will talk about that. But there are other groups out there that are much more, I wouldn't say amenable to it, but that's much more of a common thing. And you do see lots of men saying how depressed or isolated or angry or whatever it might be that they are. But the group that I run is aimed at finding purpose, adventure, and a tribe. And so I think because people have found that, there's not that level of concern, perhaps, to some degree. They're quite welcome to talk about it. It's just that it doesn't come up very often because people are busy doing other things in terms of like taking control of their lives. Like we run a push-up challenge. You know, a group of the men are doing 100 push-ups a day. Now, those kind of things are taking control over aspects of their lives. So it may be that they're not willing to share that they're upset or they're fearful, but sometimes they are. So it's not cut and dried. It's not one or the other. They're quite welcome to, but they don't do it that much. But other groups I've seen, they do. So yeah. Yeah,
we'll see. If you're in around men that you're all feeling comfortable at the time, well, then you're feeling comfortable. Your emotions aren't at the forefront. They're not on your mind, so to speak. So you're not likely to talk about them. But when you haven't got that sort of that connection with men, because sometimes all the men need to do is just sit next to another man and just take in the environment around them. And that is enough to take the pressure off. Others need to express it more. And again, each of the different groups are run in different ways, so they're all going to respond in those groups differently. Traditionally, it wasn't something for men to do. It was something that we were, you know, back when I was a boy, it was told, you know, be seen, not heard, you know, suck it up and all the rest of it. When we got into looking at emotions, then a lot of men just went so far the other way and got totally lost as well. So we lost our identity in that. You know, men have always been the fixers. That was traditionally, if we talk globally, not so much specifically. We were the fixers, and in the fixer role, we weren't dealing with emotions. But the women were the empathetic ones, the emotional empathy, and we were the compassionate empathy. And we just weren't connecting the two.
Mm.
Be able to then look at and go, okay, I understand where the woman's coming from. And then, do you want me to listen? Do you want me to fix things? And then having that conversation and then being able to move into compassionate. We're both in, operating in our best levels. But it's the fact that none of the emotions are right or wrong. There's nothing wrong with anger. If somebody attacks your family, turning the other cheek and putting your anger aside is not going to save your family. So it's appropriateness of our emotions. As I said, I feel a bit of fear about this. I've had chest infections most of my life because of the work I've done, renovating houses, burning lead paint and other things. So this time each year, I start to get a cough. There's a change of the temperatures and everything goes. So I'm in that risk group. But at the same time, I'm looking at the precautions I take. Yes, there's that fear, but I'm not going to control me. I'm still getting around doing what I need to do. I limit how much I go outside. But if I have to go down to the shops and buy food, I'm not fearful of going down and buying food.
Yeah.
It's having it in that level where I understand that emotion. I understand what I'm feeling there. At the same time, I'm not letting it control me. But I'm not going blasé and beating my chest and saying, hey, I'm all power. Well, that's usually the people who do that are the ones who are that far from it. It's not funny.
Mm. Well, if we bring that, you were talking about quality time, just sitting with the men. If we look at the 6 love languages, I don't know whether you noticed, there's been 5 love languages and now there's a 6th one. So, if you've got someone that's quality time, then just sitting there, then that can do something. But if you've got someone who words of affirmation are their thing, are their love language, then they're going to be a different group who actually need to look and then if it's touch, nudge each other and, tap on the elbow or, the old whatever. So they're bringing all of that in as well, then can help guide what someone needs to feel that settled.
So you just mentioned the 6 love languages. There's been the 5 traditional ones. What's the 6th one?
The 6th one is distance, which I perhaps wouldn't call distance, but that's what I've read. But it's space. Some people need space. It's my interpretation. Some people need space. They need that alone. Yeah.
I think we all need that a bit. At least I do at times.
Yeah. So I think that was that's a really profound thing to go, because, when you first get into relationships as partners, then you're really, really together. And then it's like, I need my space. And just to have that, this is a thing. It's not someone going, I need to get away from you. It's like, no, it's not even about you. I need my space, and they call it distance, but that's my interpretation. A lot of people I know were like, that's really cool.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah. Well, I may have taken the space one to the extreme, 2 divorces.
Yeah.
Maybe they just didn't understand, Alan.
God, I look at myself half the time and I go, I don't understand you either. But isn't what life's all about? It's finding out about ourselves, understanding ourselves, but also having that. We've got to be compassionate to other people. We've got to be compassionate to ourselves as well. Feeling fear and other things, we need to be able to recognise that we're feeling uncertain. Yes, feel uncertain, but don't let it control you. Find some people, talk to other people, so that you can share those fears.
And maybe look at the opportunities too, Alan. I mean, how often do people have that chance to chill out, spend time at home, spend more time with family? Get out and walk in the bush. It's in a lot of ways it's a good time. I mean, you can find gratitude in anything really. And the fact that we have the technology, as Heather was saying, that we can use now that we wouldn't have had, 10, 15 years ago, we're in a pretty good situation in a lot of ways.
And I'm also very mindful that I'm 60, that I have a roof over my head, that I have some savings, And I know with my a lot of my younger friends and family in their 20s and 30s, they don't have that. And they've literally been living paycheck to paycheck. And so I'm very aware of what I have and where I speak from, that other people don't have that. So even though there is uncertainty, for me, I always have absolute certainty in the unknown. And it might sound crazy, but I have absolute certainty in my uncertainty of not knowing things. And again, I get that comes from wisdom of the years, but also what I've been able to set up because of my age and because of my life. So I'm mindful for people who don't have any savings and are paying rent and don't have a job, then that can be a much more difficult place to come from. Then, so again, as you're saying, that compassion that we have for ourselves and for other people, it's very different depending where, even your physical surroundings, what your bank balance looks like, is going to change things quite significantly for people.
That's it.
I suppose for us, though, one of the saving graces is that we were lucky enough to be born in Australia, and Australia has a pretty decent safety net for people, which is being probably tested at the moment, but also the government is coming to the party to assist even more. And a lot of countries wouldn't even have that. I've got friends in Bali where, with the tourism stopping, that's it. The income has dried up. There's nothing to fall back on except family and going back to villages and that kind of thing. So in a lot of ways, we even if we're younger people without funds, the banks are even stepping up, it looks like, to some degree to delay mortgages and all that kind of thing. So I think there are a lot of positives here, and there may be some really good spin-offs down the track that people might start to, or the governments might start to realize, that this idea of a universal basic income might actually be a good idea as a safety net for people in general. So, there are a lot of negative things happening, but there's a lot of positives, I think, as well.
Yeah, it depends on which way we send our focus as to what we're going to get more of. I'm thinking about it recently about a lot of people, thinking about the hospitality industry in particular. How were they going to fare with, people aren't moving around? If everyone's home, then who's going to the cafes, etc.? And so they'd have a major problem. But I was also thinking that there'd be an increase in the number of workers needed in the health industry and things like that. There's going to be roles where men thought that they were losing their hold in the workplace. Now there's jobs that they can go into that'll come out of this. At the same time, thinking about what we do a little bit differently. Now, I've been lucky because I do my face-to-face training. I also do online training. I've got courses that are sitting up there, so people can do those. The end result is that I've covered all the bases for myself, so I can go one way or another. But for those people who think that they can't, stop and think and go, okay, outside yourself, if you can step back from it, if those restaurateurs, and I was thinking about this, and I think I saw it on TV last night, where they'd said, well, some of the restaurants, all those workers, how are they getting fed? They're working longer hours. They're doing 12-hour shifts. When they get to the supermarket, or they can't even get to the supermarket, where are they getting their food from? Who's feeding them? So is that, of course, the source of another business for a restaurant to start preparing food, deliver it to a hospital or a work centre, even Centrelink, where the workers are working, and feed them, so at least they get fed.
Well, there are restaurants who are doing that around around everywhere, not everywhere, but there are a lot of restaurants that are doing that, packing up food for people who don't have it, which is a beautiful thing. But one of the things is to be innovative and creative. Then if you're stuck in fear, you can't be that. You just can't do that. So then it's like, what are the practical tools to help people, which are looking at really basics, and especially for someone on the start of their journey who is like, I've got no idea, is really looking at grounding exercises and coming back to the breath really being in the moment, like just looking at the practicalities of getting out of that anxiety, overwhelm, which is usually anger, sadness, and fear. Like that's just full on fear, emotions versus the feelings. And then, yeah, just look at, well, what are the practicalities around if that's going on?
Even a basic, breath counting meditation would be a start for a lot of people who've never experienced that kind of thing before.
And I think it's a time for all of us, us in particular as well. Are we walking our talk? Do we just talk the talk, or do we walk it as well? This is where we come together, and the people who have got the skills put it out there that, hey, we're here to be talked to. Talk to us and get some ideas from us. So those people that you mentioned, Heather, who have just started, and like startups and everything else, and they're going, oh my God, I've just been hit with this avalanche. What do I do? And they feel like they're 10 feet under the water surface. Then it's up to us to say, hey, we're out here. It's not just up to them to go looking for us. It's up to us to say, hey, we're here as well. Come and talk to us. And we come together as a community. This is an opportunity for us to go from this selfish state that we're in, where we just looked after ourselves, to where we can start looking after each other. And people who look after each other usually grow faster, not only in their personal growth, but also in their financial growth as well.
Yeah, and that's the thing that, for some people, they won't even know where to look. So it's all very well to say, go and find someone. I've just helped my parents transition into aged care. They've been living with me for 7 years, and it's been an incredibly emotional time for all of us. I mean, moving house is, transitioning is, and again, they couldn't see a way through, and I couldn't see a way through. And I've been in the health industry helping other people for 40 years around this, but in that I couldn't see a way through. And then I remembered that I'd met an advocate a year ago, and I just rang her and said, hey, I need help. I need help. But, that was a chance meeting that I'd met this woman. And I know I had literally thousands of clients. I've listened to thousands of clients over the years who didn't know how to transition through that stuff. And it was really difficult. So I invested in an advocate, and it was just with ease and grace. So one of the things for a lot of people is, if you don't know how, because when the fear comes up, it's like, how am I going to do this? How am I going to get through this? How? And one of the things is to stop and ask who. Who can help me? Who will know about this? Who can I ask? And then that's a very different thing. So if you're stuck in the how, folks, just drop the how and ask who, or maybe what, or where can I go, and let go of the how if it's not serving you.
Yeah, because you focus on the how, and if you can't see it, well, you're never going to find it.
No.
And if you go, okay, I've got to look for something else, well, who else knows how I should be doing what I'm doing? If you don't know, then it always comes back to who.
I suppose the advantage is that we have the internet for researching things, but the disadvantage is there's so much information to sift through to find what's compatible for what your issue is that you're dealing with.
Yeah. And again, it depends whether you're like, I'm never going to go online to get help. I'm not designed to. So whereas I have other people that I coach, that I mentor, friends, they will go online and they will do their search. For me, I don't think I've ever done that. So again, it depends on the person as to what sort of resources will get them help as well.
Sure. And the important thing is finding the right people. And this is one of the things that, if we've gone through all this hoarding, we've had people hoarding and actually sending stuff overseas until they stopped, shut the borders and stopped all of that. We've had people ripping other people off. We've had people that won't, there's been a little bit of looting as well. All of those things are the bad sides out there as well. There's also going to be people who put their hand up who are trying to just survive themselves, and they're not really going to be focused on the people that they're working with. So the biggest thing is that while you're out there asking who can help me, It's also knowing what to look for in them to make sure that you're getting the right one. You need to make sure the person's got a track record. What have they been doing prior to this? How have they been helping people in the good times? If they've been doing it then, they'll be even doing it more now. If they haven't been doing that before and they're doing it all of a sudden, they're out there with their hands up in the air saying, hey, come to me, then ask yourself, they've got their hands up saying, come to me, what's behind that? Is it because they want to help you, or is it they want to work on, they're helping themselves?
Is it just opportunism?
That's it. And so, we all got to survive. All of us, we've still got to be able to make a living to pay our bills and everything else. So yes, we will be charging for our services or whatever, but what is the intent behind us? Do we help people and therefore get paid, or do people want to get paid and then help you? Find out the first one.
Good distinction.
Find that distinction.
Yeah.
So it's knowing what questions to ask and who to ask those questions of.
So for me, it pretty much goes back to word of mouth in these times. I had a business for 35 years and 8 months, and like 95% of my clients came from referrals from somebody who knew me, somebody who'd experienced me, somebody who trusted me. And I found it interesting with marketing, if you want to grow and things, you can't do that word of mouth thing. You're just not going to grow. I don't know that I agree with that. But I think one of the things now is to ask around and ask someone that you trust, because they're more likely to guide you to the next person, So I know someone sold their house the other day, a friend of mine, and she'd gone to one person that is in the community who had put her into, and 10 people later, she's sold a house, bought a house, and everything is set up. Again, all of those 10 people were people who were known and trusted to the next person. So that's one of the things, would be to reach out to someone via that is a great option if that's available to you.
And I think the people who have been doing the right thing in the past, they're the ones that will have the networks as well, because they've built relationships with the people. They've had a relationship with their clients. The people that they connect with, they'll have relationships with them as well. And they can then draw on those relationships and find the people who best suit the person who's in need at that time. The need to be able to read people is extremely important. But at the same time, I've had a lot of people say to me that they're holding off on things at the moment to see what happens. Well, if everybody's holding on to see what happens, there's a small number of people who are moving forward, and guess who's going to come out of this on the upside? And it'll be the average. These people who are actually moving forward, who are getting involved in things at the moment, businesses who are looking and going, okay, I can't go out and do things face to face. People can't come to me. I've got to do different things differently. Who's a specialist in that field? Somebody that other people trust. Go and talk to them. Start putting ideas together, so that you're actually being proactive to this instead of being reactive to it. Fear is a reaction. And anybody who's got a fear and is not looking at, you made plans to move forward, and all of a sudden you go, well, I don't want to do anything because I'm fearful of this. It's a fear that's winning. You're the one who's going to lose.
Sorry, Heather.
No, go ahead.
A lot of friends of mine who are running meetups have already switched over to online, and that seems to be working quite well for them. And I've got a meetup coming up on the 6th of April, which I'll also probably change over to online. So I think the good thing about humans is often we adapt, not always, but often.
So fear is your intuition. Fear is our safety. So again, fear is not wrong. And if your intuition is saying pause, take a moment, because there's a lot of push that you need to be moving forward and you need to be doing this. But for me, I believe that there are some people, it's like, this is a pause, like this is a moment that you can deeply reflect, because I know a lot of people that I've worked with and they're silently struggling and they're in businesses that they don't want to be doing. It's not filling their heart and their soul. And they literally, there's a lot of men that I talk to and they're silently struggling, that they have this business and they've got mentors saying, you know, push it forward and you know, keep doing this. The thing is, they don't even want to be doing that.
Mm-hmm.
They don't want to be doing it. So one of the things with this moving forward, one of the fastest ways for some people to move forward is going to be stop.
Totally agree.
And to
Heather,
pause and to listen to what is really true for you, because moving forward with something that you really don't want to be doing is not listening, and that's a recipe for disaster. It's going to hit you in the face somewhere along the line. So I'm totally for that innovation, for that creating, for that, but I'm also like, if this is the moment for you to stop, to pause, to deeply reflect, to look at what is real for me, that's a whole other level of consciousness and awareness.
See, and that's being in control of the fear. And as you said, it's a reflection. And that's what I'm talking about there. You stop, you reflect, so you can move forward. But a lot of people are saying to me, they're going to wait and see. They're not reflecting. They're just in panic. That's the difference. As I said, fear is there to protect us. Otherwise, we would have expired as a species a long time ago. So fear is that guide to tell us that something's wrong. We need to stop and check, reflect, all of those things. Once you've done that, if you reflect and you go, no, moving forward is not for me at the moment, that is moving forward. But, you know, it's not a physical moving forward, but it's a case of those that then say that, oh, I'm fearful, I'm going to stop and wait and see what happens. They're not in control. The fear is controlling them.
Well, I suppose people have to respect their own fears too. You know, those people are where they want to be. But I think you're onto something there, Heather and Alan, in terms of this is a great opportunity for introspection. And one of the big things that I've been pushing on my Mammoth Hunters group is all about finding purpose. And what a fantastic time to kick back a little bit and think, as Heather was saying, is this thing that I'm doing that I'm not enjoying, that I'm not unhappy with, is this really where I want to go, or is there something else in life out there for me? I mean, what a great time to start thinking about that. And then when things smooth out, follow it.
I think there'll be a lot of new industries and jobs that'll come out of this, because a lot of people will be thinking differently, and the results, when you think, this is when ideas come forward, and this is when we have new innovations and other things. So from that point of view, it can be quite exciting. But yes, at the same time, we're going to be having those the doubts and everything else. You know, we've got to help our families, we've got to help our communities.
Well, I suppose it's that bottom level of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, isn't it? When you're stuck in the survival situation of how do I get money, how do I get food, how do I do this, how do I do that, then you can't really think too much about the higher levels. But hopefully that will smooth out in time.
There's also in someone Gilbert, is it Amy Gilbert? There's someone who's just been in Australia. And I can't place her name, but she's like, stop looking for purpose. And so it's interesting, the duality of like, if looking for your purpose is going to help you, then again, and it feels right, then look for your purpose. And again, I haven't seen the body of work, but I've read some others. And for some people, like, you know, I should have a purpose, I should know my purpose, is something that kills people when they don't have it. So again, if finding your purpose and you can relax into that and find some joy in that, or it's helping you move forward, by all means, focus on that purpose.
Is she the one that did Eat, Pray, Love?
Yes. Yeah.
She did a fantastic video about this, and I agree completely with you. But when I use the term purpose, there's purpose, which is the grand, people think the grand purpose of my life. And then there's the little purpose. And the little purpose is like, as she would say, she had an issue with not an issue, but a woman contacted her after one of her talks and said, I have tried to find a purpose and I have not found it. And it's driving me crazy. And then she realized that not everyone you know, like I have a friend who his purpose in life always was to become a pilot, and he did that, and that was so clear to him.
Yeah.
And other people don't have that clarity. And so, you know, this, for some people, they can find this giant purpose in life. You know, let's say, you know, my purpose in life is to solve the problem of world hunger. Okay, that's a pretty big goal, right? But purpose can mean the purpose for you at this moment in time that makes you happy, and that can be an activity. You know, you might get into yoga, and your purpose at the moment is to study yoga, and that's what gives you joy. And that's what Amy Gilbert was saying to this woman, or about this woman, that she has lots of friends who find something that's very, very interesting to them, and they follow that, but don't necessarily call it their purpose. And so there's two aspects here. There's finding stuff that you enjoy that can be your purpose for the moment, and then there's bigger purpose.
Yeah.
When somebody makes a comment like she has done, I stop and I go, okay, what's she really saying by that? What's the bigger picture? Step back from it. Whereas there's so many motivational speakers out there pushing, you've got to find your purpose and everything else, that people are so lost because they can't find it, because they've made it so difficult for themselves. By saying to somebody, stop finding it, it's funny they actually find it.
Yeah.
Because it's like if somebody comes to me and they say, look, I just can't change my thinking. Which I used to take them through a process. If you can't change your thinking, you don't like the way you're thinking, how do you like the way, you know, how does that make you feel? They tell you how lousy they feel. Well, if you tell them to change their thinking, they're not going to change their thinking. But if you say to them, right, if that makes you feel like that, how's another way you would prefer to feel? Tell us about that. I'd like to have these feelings. Well, tell us about what you'd be doing if you had all those, that if you felt that way, you had that happen. And they go, and use all your senses. If they say, oh, well, I'd really like to have some more time, well, you know, what do you enjoy? Oh, I'd like walking along the beach. Tell me about walking along the beach. Are you in the soft sand? Are you in the hard sand? Are you in the water's edge? What are you smelling? What are you're tasting in the air, etc.? Who are you with? What are you discussing? And when they get into that, automatically their thoughts align with that, because you can't think of something that's wonderful and not feel it in the body. And so if you get it in the body, then your thoughts are going to, and this is how I was dealing with getting people to change the way they were thinking, by not dealing with the way they were thinking. So her statement of saying, don't chase your purpose, because we know you chase a rabbit, it doesn't stop running. But the moment you stop chasing it, the rabbit usually stops to look around and go, is it safe now to just sit here?
Good enough.
So,
and that's because there is a lot of shoulds out there through the motivational speakers and transformation work and stuff like that. And I got stuck in that. And it's like, you know, every question was like, what's your purpose? And I'm like, effed if I know. But it became a thing. And the crazy thing is that I've seen, again, like hundreds of people in that same boat. But then there's this illusion of like, yeah, I know my purpose. And I was like, nah, you don't. And so,
it's all this desire that they have to, it's this airy fairy stuff. You know, if I put on the act that I feel great, then I'll be great. Well, no, you won't.
No.
You know, not if you've got all this doubt in the background. Fake it till you make it just does not work.
No.
The whole thing is act as if, then you're actually there. One gets you there, the other one keeps you away from ever getting there.
It's this illusion of
they, you know, fake it till you make it.
It's this illusion of you know, permanent growth. You know, some of the coaches that they're pushing. Now it's like you were saying before, Al, now's the time to push ahead. And Heather was saying that people say now's the time to push ahead, and that. And if you look at the stock market, there's a great example. You know, it's had this incredible bull run for however long, and now along comes this virus and kicks it in the butt. And nothing is sustainable like that forever. You know, this permanent growth. People need time to kick back and relax and contemplate and all that. It's just, it seems to me a lot of the motivational stuff is just very much pushy, energy intensive. And, you know, it's not possible for people to be permanently on and up. It's just unnatural, I think.
It's like all the people who are pushing those programs, the only ones getting rich are the people pushing those programs.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the whole thing. It's a time, you know, one of the biggest issues at the moment is, you know, they say that the fastest growing industry on the planet is technology. And I've said this before, we're connected by devices without, they're everywhere, but we are less connected with ourselves and with each other than we ever have been before. So now we're in this situation where, and this is one of the reasons why coaching just took off, and so many coaches out there still hadn't worked through their stuff. But the end result was that we found that all of a sudden, it's like the universe, call it what you will, has turned around and said, right, what we need you to do is to stop and revalue things. So here we are, we're now isolated, we're at home. A lot of people got their kids at home, and now's an opportunity for them to be able to connect with themselves and connect with their families. What a brilliant opportunity to be able to make sure that after this virus is over, we move forward in relationships in a positive manner.
Absolutely. Lots of positives.
Yeah. It's up to us to decide. This is a chance, as you said, Helen, stop, reflect, put the, try and step out of the fear controlling you, stop and reflect and go, okay, what's important to me right now? What's important to my family? Get that stable right first of all, and go, okay, now what can I do to move forward in my business? How can I make sure that, I don't get swallowed up in all of this? I don't get swallowed up in the fear. And so it's a brilliant time. Reflect is probably the most powerful word to me at the moment. This is what we all should be doing. What do we really value? And in that, funny enough, I think our purpose will just smack us straight in the face. We don't need to go looking for it.
Yeah.
It'll be there.
Well, it's that concept of possession, isn't it? The bee flying towards the flower to collect pollen doesn't realize that its purpose, I suppose, or purpose is to pollinate the world. It's just getting nectar for the hive.
Yeah. So I think it's important to bring up, there are a lot of people struggling with their mental health. And so this is going to escalate. And there is, some people think it's just a mindset thing. Some people think with depression and anxiety that it's, there's debate about whether it's nature or nurture. And one of the things is, for me, that it's very real, regardless of whether you bring in nature or nurture. And there will be people listening who were already struggling before this happened. And if we look at the statistics of what happens when stock markets go down and people lose their job and they don't have funds, it's pretty scary. So I just want to, again, reiterate for anyone who's struggling out there, really reach out because you're not alone. You're not the only one. And, it's like, how do we keep you safe? And how do we make sure that people are looked after when they're in that most vulnerable time of saying, I can't go on like this. And I don't know how to go on, because there's a lot of people who I know are going to be there. Now, I've experienced it's been called chronic idiopathic depression. I've done the work. I do the work. I'm very aware. I can witness it. But I know the depths of that. And again, I speak to people who on the facade of it's fine, and again, they're silently struggling. And then some become not silently struggling. So again, we have the duality or the polarity of like those doing well and have done the work and can witness what's going on. And then we've got people who are at the start of their journey who are really, really struggling. So, if you're really struggling, you matter, you're important, you're enough, you're worthy. And we just like hang in there and hang on there and reach out, no matter how vulnerable it feels and how much courage and brave it takes to do that, because we want you. We want you around. So I want to honour those people as well.
Yeah, and those people who feel that they're lost, they're not in control and everything else, how you can get some control of this is when you reach out to people, ask them how they may not, we haven't been through a pandemic in my lifetime before like this. So this is a completely new situation, but people have been through hardships. They've been through tough times. They've been through things that you might be feeling right now. So ask them, find out who can help you. If someone puts their hand up, ask them first of all, how they went through it, what they did, how can they really help you, from what experience do they have. That will give you a feeling that you have some control over this, because you have the total control over who helps you.
Yeah.
You don't have to just put your hand up and then people just come along and tell you what to do. You have the choice. So take that and ask the people who you're talking to, who are asking for help, exactly what they've been through themselves before. This is a way we separate the charlatans, those that just haven't done the work themselves before but want to make some money out of this, and those that have been there before, because they're the ones that want to help you because they've been through it themselves. And if you go up to anybody who's you hold up in high esteem, that might be somebody like Richard Branson, if you were in business, and you go up to him and you say, well, how do I start a business? What do I do? Because you've done all this. Anybody who's in those positions will want to tell you, because it's a privilege to be able to pass that knowledge on of what we've been through. So you're helping them just as much. When you ask somebody else if they can help you, you're giving them a gift of being able to feel that feeling of being able to be able to help you. So don't be afraid to put your hand up and ask the people for help, but be in control. Ask the right question so you get the right person.
If we act in the way that you're both saying, I think this has the potential to be something like the time of the Blitz in London, or the war in Serbia, or a whole host of other crises in history, where people often look fondly back on the Blitz, when they were the hell was being bombed out of them, and the people were dying around them left, right, and centre, and yet there was this strong sense of camaraderie and and
belonging and all that.
Belonging and a cause that they were all a part of. And one thing I did the other day was to ring some friends of mine who I hadn't spoken to for at least 6 months, maybe a year, just to make that connection. And I really encourage people to do that, because we let connections drop, and now's a great opportunity to reconnect.
That's it. With technology, we don't have to go to their place. We've got all the technology in the world. We've got videos like this where we can see people. Okay, we can't touch them, but we can't really touch them right now if they're in the same room with us. So, the thing is that, yes, there is the other side of this when we come out. We're not going to be in this forever. We're going to come through it, but it depends on how many scars we're going to have when we do get to the other side. And we really have the control over how deep those scars are going to be.
Yeah. So one of the things that you brought up triggered a memory for me, choice. So a lot of people can be in a place where they really don't think they have a choice. And for someone who hasn't been there, that makes no sense, because of course you've got a choice. I've been in that space where I didn't think I had a choice. So again, for people who are there and are saying, you don't get it. You guys just don't get it. I do. I've experienced that. And again, having someone reflect that you could do this or this or this or this. And I'm like, yeah, but I can't because of the consequences. And I was so deeply into this, and one of my mentors, oh my God, never heard the word consequences mentioned so many times in my lifetime, as you're saying right here and now. And in that space, I didn't see that I had choices. And one of the things is I thought I was so busy trying to protect everyone else that, and that's what a lot of people are going to be thinking, that they're protecting someone else. And some of the choices they've got to make it's like being on the airplane, is put on the oxygen. You've got to put on, in these times, the oxygen mask for yourself, so as then you can care for, like me, my elderly parents and my grandchildren and other people. So again, that oxygen mask thing is so important at this time.
That's it.
I ran a meetup a little while back with Melanie Taylor as the guest speaker, and she was talking about the power of being selfish, which sort of ties in with what Heather was saying, that we need to kind of put ourselves first and deal with a lot of the stuff that's going on for us before we start saving everyone else. Not everyone's in that boat. I mean, if you're in that have that capability to help others, great. But sometimes you have to sort out your own stuff first.
Yeah. Well, if you help, you can help other people by just helping, looking after yourself, because that's not a burden on everybody else around you. At the end of the day, if you don't look after yourself and you think you're helping everybody else and you're run down, you're giving them an inferior product where somebody else could be doing that. So you have, if you're a selfless person, you have to get selfish to make sure that you're of a standard that you can give a lot more when you are being selfless. There are times to, it's like you said, Heather, to step back and reflect on things. The same thing here, step back, look after yourself, get yourself back to that full level again so you can step forward and then look after everybody else.
A great saying one of my mentors said to me once is like, how do I keep this or something better? And then I added with a cherry on top. So one of the things moving forward, even with transitioning my parents, I really had to keep asking, how do I keep this or something better? Or something better. So in this time of dramatic change for many people, is to look at, okay, how can it be this? But if it's not this, how can it be something even better that will come out of it, which is that positivity of all the opportunities and the changes that are going to be better for people. And that doesn't take away the hurt and the pain and the doubt and the fear and all that is very real. But then it's like, okay, how can we have this or something better? And that just gave me peace at times when I was really struggling. And again, now my mum's in a place, and she's in lockdown, so that's been really hard. And my dad had surgery; he's pretty much in lockdown. But even though we don't have the family there, I know that they're being taken care of by a bunch of professionals. And at this time, that's a really good thing. It doesn't take away the grief and the sadness that I'm feeling at the same time, though. So again, we can have those multiple things going on. It's not black and white. It's not that or that. It's like that and that and that and that all going on at once.
Excellent. Okay. Well, we've done pretty well for time there. I'd like to thank both of you for coming along today and sharing your experiences and your wisdom. I very much appreciate it.
Thank you.
I think at this point in time, there's probably a lot more of these conversations that we need to have, so there'll be probably more of this on the Campfire Project. Tell other people about, everybody out there, tell other people about the Campfire Project. If you're getting some solace out of this and you're feeling there's some answers here, and that, tell your friends, because the more that we get together and the more people are talking to each other, via the internet, via phones, the stronger we're going to be. Don't try and do everything on your own, because when you're on your own, you're carrying too much weight. Call other people to get them to give you a hand and talk to them, because everybody wants to help. Yourself, when you're feeling okay, you like to help other people. So don't rob the other people of the opportunity of them to be able to help you. So don't be selfish. If you're feeling down at any time, other people want to help. They feel better when they're doing that. So give them that gift by asking them for their help. All right? Both of you guys, thanks very much for being here. And to everybody who's been listening in today, I hope you got a lot out of it. And we'll see you on the next discussion. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks, Alan. Thanks, Heather.
Thank you.
Bye.